Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be going over Mac 101 for our Facebook Live. My name's Tim. I'm one of the system technicians at Kenton County Public Library. While we go ahead and wait for people to connect, I can go over what we're going to talk about today, and I have a couple resources that we have available about Mac if you wanted to go more in depth. So some of the resources that we have available on Libby, which is our ebook collection, is Switching to Mac, which is a book that just goes over some basic Mac stuff for you. Another option that we have available is through Libby, we have Apple Magazine, which is a magazine that just talks about all things Apple, what they're doing, new features that are coming out, things like that. So both of those are great resources that you can check out that are available through Libby that you have access to with your Kenton County Library card. So some of the things we're going to be going over today are some basic functions that Mac has, which are the OS X functions that we have. OS 10 is what Mac calls their operating system. We're also going to go over some shortcut keys to help you be able to get around your Mac a little bit faster, and we're going to go over some built-in apps that come preloaded on every Mac. So let's go ahead and get started. So some of the OS 10 functions that we're going to be going over is the dock, Finder, Mission Control, the Apple menu, Spotlight Search, Launchpad, and iCloud. So let's go ahead and get started with the dock. So the dock is this little piece right down here. I have it so that it hides when my cursor's not on it, but you can have it so that it's always there. This is basically like a starting point where you can put all of your applications that you use most frequently. To add an application, once you have it opened, you can use two fingers on the Mac trackpad, or you can right click on the Mac mouse, and then you can go to Options, and then check this Keep in Dock box. That way it's going to stay down in this dock all the time. Some of the other things to know about the dock is you can see these little black dots underneath some of the applications. That dot means that the application is currently running, so you have a window for it open somewhere at the present time. If it doesn't have that black dot, it just means that the application's closed and not running. So you can go ahead and click on it, and that'll make that black dot turn on, and the application starts to open. So that's what the dock is. The next thing we're going to go over is Finder. So Finder is the Mac equivalent of Windows Explorer. So what that is it's just where all of your files are kept. So when you first open up Finder, that is the little blue and white guy with the face that's on your dock or anywhere that you see that icon. That's how you open up Finder. So Finder has a favorites menu listed on the left-hand side that will show you your recent folders or anything that you have pinned over here. You can unpin or pin as many folders as you want on this little favorite menu. Finder has a couple different views that you can look at files in. So let's go to Documents here, and you can either have what's called the icon view, which is this. That's probably what a lot of you are used to seeing. This is the default on Mac. So the icons, it shows everything that's in there, and you double click on folders and that opens up and it moves that window into that folder. You use the backwards and forward buttons to move around and all that. The next view that they have is called the list view. You can change these up here with these view buttons. So the list view just lists everything you have, and then you can click on these little triangles, and that shows you everything that's in that folder. So this is kind of like a tree structure a little bit, where you can just look through all your folders and see everything kind of at one time. The next view is the view that I like, which is called the columns view. That's where you have your list of folders, and then you have the folders within it, and it just keeps moving on to the right. So when you click on a folder that has stuff in it, you can then click on another folder, and it just keeps moving everything over, so you can always kind of see the breadcrumb trail of how you got to where you are at. The last view is called the gallery view. That's most often used for photos. So that's where it just shows all the documents down here. and you can see everything. And then when you click on it, it gives you like a bigger preview of it up here on the top. So that is the Finder window. Next up, we're going to be going over Mission Control. So what Mission Control is on your MacBook, you can take 4 fingers and slide up on the trackpad, and that brings up this Mission Control area. So what that is you can have different desktops up here, and those desktops are kind of like different workspaces that you can use. Once you're up here, you can click on this little X to remove workstations, or you can click on this little plus sign right here, and that'll add more desktops. You can also move desktops between monitors if you have multiple monitors, and you can move windows between the different desktops. So if I grab this window, I can move it over to this desktop 3, and now it's over here. Another way that you can move between desktops is take your 4 fingers on your trackpad and move left and right with your fingers. Some other things that you can do when you're in mission control mode is when you slide up, it shows you all the windows that you have open on that desktop. And that allows you to be able to find windows a lot more easily if you have a lot of windows open. So it just kind of spaces everything out and stops everything from being buried so that you can click on your windows and find them a little easier. So that's mission control. The next one that I'm going to go over is the Apple menu. So that is this little Apple icon up in the top left, and that just gives you some basic settings. It goes over system preferences. You can find the App Store here, shutdown, log out, recent items, force quit, all that kind of stuff. Force quit is similar to the task manager or Alt Control Delete on a PC. That's what this force quit is right here. Another thing that's going to be helpful if you're trying to ask for support with your Mac, if you click on this About Mac button right here, that's going to bring up all the information on your Mac. Things like what version of Mac OS you're running. So I'm running Mac OS Catalina, which is 10.15.4. It also tells you what hardware you're running on. So I'm on a 13-inch 2007 MacBook Pro, what processor you're running, what disk started up, your graphics, your serial number, which is something that Apple will probably want should you contact them. It also goes over displays. So it shows you what's connected. So I have my built-in display on my MacBook, and I also have an HP monitor connected to my Mac right now. So that tells you that. You can also go to storage, and that will tell you how big your hard drive is, which is something that you might need to know to see if you're running out of space, things like that. So I still have 118 gigabytes left, and I have a 500 gigabyte hard drive on here. The support tab will give you some links on how to contact Apple and just some helpful little guides that they have on their website. Those are just links straight to there. Then you also have the service tab, which is going to be Apple Care information. That's where if you click on these links, it'll show you your Apple Care status, if it's still in warranty, things like that. If you have any questions, you can drop those in the comments and I'll work on answering those. So as we move on, feel free to ask questions in the comments and I will get to those. The next thing I'm going to go over is called Spotlight Search. That's very helpful for me when I'm looking for things on my Mac. So the way you get to that is you can see this little magnifying glass icon that I have up in the top right-hand corner pulled out. That is on the menu bar up at the top. On yours, it's the little magnifying glass that's right here. And what Spotlight Search is it's a pretty advanced search feature that searches through documents on your computer. It searches through, it can search on Safari, so Google searches. It can even do math and dictionary definitions. So if I wanted to look up, if I wanted to find my OneDrive folder, I can search that and it'll pull up my OneDrive folder for me. Or if I just need to do a quick calculation, we can do 2 times 47, and that pulls up the calculator and gives you the answer. It can also give you dictionary definitions. So let's say define library. Well, and right here under definition, you can click on that, and that'll give you the definition of any word that you put into Spotlight Search. So Spotlight Search is a pretty advanced search tool. I use it a lot when I'm using my Mac. It helps me find stuff a lot quicker if I'm not sure where I put it, things like that. The next thing that I'm going to go over in the OS 10 functions is called Launchpad. So what Launchpad is you can see it on your keyboard. This is the Mac keyboard, so to pull it up, you click on the F4 key, which is the one circled. It's the thing with the 6 little like squares above it, so it's that key. So that's how you pull up Launchpad. If you don't have that key, some of the newer MacBooks have a touchpad up top instead of those function keys. The way you get to that on the touchpad Macs is you click on the little arrow that you're going to see that's next to a little sunshine in your volume control, is that same little 6-dot icon is going to be there. So you can go ahead and click on that icon and that pulls up Launchpad. Launchpad is just going to be a list of all the apps that you have installed on your system. It looks very similar to the iPhone or the iPad. If you have one of those, it's going to bring your Mac to look kind of like that. So you just have all your different icons, you have your different pages and all that. So this is going to look very familiar to you if you use an iPad or an iPhone. The next thing that I'm going to go over is iCloud. There's not really a window to go along with that, but what iCloud is Apple's cloud storage software. You might get errors about iCloud not being able to back up because your storage is full, things like that. You can either turn off backup when you get those errors, or you can buy more storage from Apple. That starts at 99 cents a month, and you can buy more storage from them to get your MacBook to be able to be backed up and make sure all of your documents are safe. iCloud is going to be very similar to OneDrive or Dropbox or any of those other cloud services that my coworker Pam talked about last week when she was talking about photo storage and backing up. The next thing I'm going to go over is keyboard shortcuts. So on Windows, you've probably heard of using Control-C, Control-X, and Control-V for copy, paste, and cut. So on the Mac, you use the Command key, which is the key right next to the space bar that has that little flowery looking icon on it. The letters are still the same. So for cut, it's the Command key and the X key. For copy, it's the Command key and the C key. And for paste, it's the Command key and the V key. Some other shortcuts that can be useful on the Mac is you can do a screen grab, which is where you do the Command key, the Shift key, and then the number 4. When you do that, you get these little crosshair arrows that you can kind of see on my screen right now. They're over the wolf's face right now. So what you can do is you click and drag, and that lets you do a screenshot that you can see. It pops up down in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can click on it, and that opens it up in a preview window. So you can do whatever you want with that screenshot. Then you can share it through mail, messages, AirDrop, anything like that. You can also do some editing on it if you want, draw on it, things like that. Then you can either save it or don't save it. The next screenshot kind of command that we have is Command, Shift, and 3. What that does is very similar to the screen grab, except for it takes the entire screen and you don't have to use the little crosshairs to select only one area of the screen. It then pops up in that corner and you can do everything that you did with the screen grab. The next one is Command, Shift, and 5. So what that does is it brings up this box that you can set up. You can set the area that you want to record, and then this is going to do a video recording. So you can either capture the entire screen, capture just one window, or you can select just a portion. You can go ahead and click on this record screen or record selected portion. There's a couple options in here. You can set timers, select where you're going to save it to, all that. So you can go ahead and hit record screen, and then it's going to start recording the screen. Or record selection, then you just hit record. So now it's going to be doing the recording for you. And then I have a touch bar Mac, so all the options came up on my touch bar. On the regular Mac or on a one without a touch bar, they're going to show up on the bottom of your screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click stop. And now I have this video that popped up down here that we can rewatch. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and it went ahead and saved it to my desktop as well. Similar to Alt-Control-Delete on Windows, you have the Force Quit option on Mac. That's going to be the Command key, which is that little flowery looking key. Then you have Option, which is the little 2 lines with the little squiggly. So you hold those two, and then you push the Escape button. That brings up your force quit window, which is where if an application locks up, you can click on that application and force quit it. That way you can continue on and try to reopen that application if you had any issues with it. The next shortcut key that I use a lot is to pull up Spotlight Search. So how you do that is you push Command and Space at the same time. That pulls up your Spotlight Search menu. So that the Spotlight Search I went over previously, and that's where you can do your file finding, look up things on Google, definitions, math, all that kind of stuff. So that is Spotlight Search, and that is all the shortcut keys I was going to go over today. Next, I'm going to go over some built-in apps. So some of the built-in apps that we have on Mac are the App Store, Photos, Safari, Reminders, QuickTime, and Preview. Those are the ones that I'm going to go over today. There's a couple more, but that's what I'm going to stick to today. So the first one I'm going to go over is the App Store. The App Store is where you can go and buy apps. Some of them cost money, some of them can be free. You do that through the App Store. That's where you can see some of these apps are free. If they just say get, some of them cost money, they'll have a little price there. This is where your apps will update, so you can see if you have updates available. They've got a couple different categories. If you're looking for games, you can come here into the play category and find some games. If you're looking for some productivity apps, that's going to be under work. There's some art apps. This is also where Apple Arcade is, which is a subscription service that they have, where you have access to hundreds of games for just a subscription fee. So that is the App Store. And that is the little blue icon with the little tools that make up an A. So next, I'm going to go over Apple Photos. So the Photos app is where your Mac will import photos if it finds any new devices. So I have my iPad connected to my MacBook right now, so it's seeing some photos that we have on here. That's where you can import them onto your Mac. You can also create memories, do facial recognition for people. Geotagging on your photos will show up here, so you can see a map of all the places you've taken photos. Recent imports, memories, which is where it'll group things by different things that you've done. So this is a trip that I did to Boulder, where you've got all those images grouped together. Next is going to be Safari. So Safari is the built-in web browser in Mac, similar to Internet Explorer, or it's also similar to like Chrome or Firefox. So this is Safari. You've got a bookmarks menu up here. You can have a favorites bar over on the left-hand side where you can have your bookmarks. Up here is where you can put in a new website URL if you were to go to a different site. So that's what Safari is. Next is Reminders. So Reminders is a nice app that Mac has built in. It's just like a task list that you can use. Some of the nice things that are in Apple's Reminders list is you can set due dates so that you get reminded on a certain date, or you can add location-based reminders. So you can say, like when I get to the Durr branch, it'll remind me that I have to fix a certain computer or something like that. I use it a lot since I travel to our different locations a lot, so it's helpful for me to set reminders based on when I show up at that branch or that location instead of a time, because I don't necessarily know I'm going to be at that location on a certain day or a certain time. So I really like to use those location-based reminders when I'm using Apple Reminders, and those do sync between your phone and your Mac if you have an iPhone and your iPad as well. The next one I'm going to go over is QuickTime. That is Apple's built-in media player. You've probably heard of it. That is just where you can play audio files, video files, things like that. You can also do screen recordings in here. The same with the shortcut keys that we had, all that kind of stuff. So that is QuickTime. The last one I'm going to go over is Preview. Preview is another built-in application that can be really powerful. It allows you to open up images, PDFs, all kinds of things. It allows you to combine PDFs. If you see these thumbnails over here, you can move pages around. If you have two PDFs open, you can drag pages between the two different PDFs. You can also do markup, which is what this little pen icon up here is. And that's, or sorry, that one's highlight. So you can highlight things with that little pen icon. Markup is the little circle in the pen. So you can click on this pen, circle different things, draw on the document. You can add text boxes to the document, type things in it, things like that. You can also add signatures. So you only have to sign and preview once, and then it saves your signature, and you can stick it wherever you need it. You can also add notes, things like that. So preview is a pretty powerful application. I use it quite a bit to help me open up a lot of things. It opens up pretty much anything, which can be very helpful if you don't have an application that can open up something. Like preview can open up Photoshop files, Illustrator files. It can open up quite a bit. So you can use preview to just see some things. You can't edit certain documents like Photoshop and Illustrator, but you can see them in preview if you don't have those programs. So I'm not seeing any questions in the comments. So it looks like we're good to go. If you have any questions later after this video, you can either drop them in the comments here and I will get a hold of them and I can respond to them there, or you can email me at tim.peterson@kentonlibrary.org, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, and I went ahead and commented that in the comments. So feel free to contact me with any of these questions if you need help getting your Mac up and running, or you just need some run-throughs. Feel free to contact me and let me know. Okay, I believe that is all. So thanks for joining us today.